For someone to reach nirvana, he has to end all of greed, hatred, and ignorance within him. But it's not that simple. The Buddha was born in what we call a perfect life. As he was a son of a king, his father, King Suddhodana, wanted to ensure he became a great king, so he designed a life for the prince inside the palace to never experience suffering like old age, sickness, and death. Buddha had everything a human would ever desire, but he wasn't happy. Then, he thought that happiness and life's meaning would be outside of the palace, as he sneaked out many times to see what life looks like outside of the unhappy perfect life he lives. This period outside of the palace is called the Four Sights. In these four sights, he saw an old man, a sick man in pain, a dead body, and a monk meditating under a tree. Buddha saw suffering as he passed by the old man, the sick man in pain, and even the lifeless dead body. But one thing that will change his whole life and history is seeing the monk seeking the truth and settling under a tree. Meeting the monk inspired Buddha to live his royal life, his princess, and his newborn son to find the meaning of life, why we suffer, and how to become free from this suffering. As anyone else looking for enlightenment at that time, becoming ascetic is the first and right thing to do. Being ascetic was practicing self-denial to deprive the self from pleasures of life and comforts like fasting for long periods, wearing only rags or minimal clothing, and living in harsh environments while getting deep in meditation and yogic practices. After 6 years of searching for enlightenment that way, he realized that he had not come to a deeper understanding of life. Neither luxury nor starvation will lead him to enlightenment, so instead he decided to follow the middle way. This happened before his enlightenment, when Buddha was so close to death that a young woman offered him rice and milk to restore his energy. The moment Buddha became enlightened was under a tree meditating, where he saw all his past lives, the reality of death and rebirth, and how he eliminated all desires and ignorance within him. After Siddhartha Gautama claimed his title, the Awakened One, he gave his first teaching to his 5 ascetic companions. Buddha's life was a real proof of his first teaching, as he started by saying that following the extremes is not the path to nirvana. Neither self-denial or indulgence in the desires will awaken you to reach nirvana, but the middle way, as neither being royal satisfying all pleasures or being ascetic rejecting all pleasures to torture the self got him enlightened, but being in the middle way is what made him the Buddha. That's why his teachings are called the middle path. But it doesn't stop here. Following the middle path will not get you enlightened until you understand what the Buddha called the Four Noble Truths, because the middle path, which he will teach us how to walk on it by using what he called the Eightfold Path, is only one truth of the Four Noble Truths. When our mothers deliver us to the world, we soon realize that we suffer, so we cry as loud as possible. That was the first noble truth, which is the truth of suffering or dukkha. As Buddha said, now this bhikkhus is the noble truth of suffering. Birth is suffering, aging is suffering, illness is suffering, death is suffering. Union with what is displeasing is suffering. Separation from what is pleasing is suffering. Not to get what one wants is suffering. In brief, the 5 aggregates subject to clinging are suffering. This doesn't mean that we don't experience happiness. We surely do when we get what we want, when we meet the love of our life, and when we have a good relationship with the people we love. But it's just temporary, as suffering will take its place in the end. Whatever we have, we will lose it. People we love will get sick and die. So as long as we are alive, we will suffer. Most people stop at this realization, but what Buddha enlightened in his teaching is that the 5 aggregates to clinging is what makes us experience this suffering. He didn't mean that suffering in life is unavoidable, but as long as the 5 aggregates to clinging are there, we suffer. Those 5 aggregates to clinging are: first, form or rupa, which is the material forms we experience like the body, the 5 senses, and everything we refer to as the physical world. Second, feeling or vedana, which is the good, bad, and neutral feelings or sensations we experience through our senses and mind. Third, perception or smajna, which is the way we perceive and label things in our experiences. Fourth, mental formations or sanskara, which are the patterns of our thoughts, intentions, and feelings that shape our experiences. Fifth, consciousness or vijnana, which is the awareness of any internal or external experiences. To understand this deeply, answer this question: who are you? Wherever your answer was, you will find it relates to those 5 aggregates, and this is what Buddha exactly teaches in the first noble truth of suffering. You cling to those 5 aggregates because they give you the illusion of a permanent self. We identify as our bodies, our feelings, our thoughts, and our experiences, forgetting that those aggregates are 100% impermanent to finally get trapped in a cycle of suffering. This craving for a permanent self is the second noble truth, which is the noble truth of the cause of suffering, as Buddha has said. Now this because is the noble truth of the origin of suffering. It is this craving which leads to rebecoming, accompanied by delight and lust, seeking delight here and there. That is, craving for sensual pleasures, craving for becoming, craving for this becoming. The most simple way to understand the cause of suffering, which is craving or tanha, is to look at it like this. If you are craving for something and we gave you a little satisfaction, now what? You want more. Let's say you fulfilled your craving, now what? You will get attached to it and fear losing it. But what if you can't get what you crave? You will start relating life with hell. Craving permanence, where everything is impermanent, gets you attached to an illusion which causes suffering. In Buddhism, the cycle of suffering leads you to rebirth, which keeps you going on and on with different types and forms. Suffering exists, being caused by craving, so it also has an end. This is what Buddha has said in the third noble truth, which is the noble truth of the end of suffering. Now this because is the noble truth of the cessation of suffering. It is the remainderless fading away and cessation of that same craving, the giving up and relinquishing of it, freedom from it, non-reliance on it. In simple words, the end of craving is the end of suffering. The Buddha didn't spot the problem only, but he did give a step-by-step guide to end suffering and reach nirvana. It's the fourth noble truth, which is the noble truth of the path that leads to the end of suffering, as Buddha has said. Now this because is the noble truth of the way leading to the cessation of suffering. It is the noble eightfold path, that is, right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. The Noble Eightfold Path is divided into 3 categories and represented as a wheel with 8 spokes, each supporting the other. The first category is wisdom, which has the practices of right view and right intention. The right view is about clearing the illusion from one's path to understand life in a right way, understand that death isn't the end and there we face the consequences of our actions and beliefs. So it includes karma, rebirth, and understanding the 4 noble truths. Life is suffering, the cause of the suffering, the end of the suffering, and the path to end the suffering, which we are covering now. The right intention is what Buddha highlights, as we should be mindful of the intention behind the thoughts and actions, because if your act was good but with bad intention, it counts against you. Our intention should be more to help others, do good in the world, or at least non-violence and far from anything that could harm yourself or other beings. This is the foundation for walking the Noble Eightfold Path. The second category is ethical conduct, which has the practices of right speech, right action, and right livelihood. The right speech is being honest with no lies, polite with no rudeness, minding business with no gossiping, or talking about others to cause discord, and run your mouth for good when necessary with no idle chatter. The right action is simply no killing, harming, stealing, sexual misconduct, and intoxication using drugs and alcohol. But what if someone is attacking you? Should you defend yourself or what? It obviously depends on your intention, as you may let someone kill you in intent to not kill him, but let him kill you, which obviously will play against you. So that's why there is the right intention practice, to train your intention to be good, not to trick them. Most people can stop doing the last 2, but what it exactly means is no sexual misconduct, not sex, and no intoxication using drugs and alcohol, not drinking. And of course, doing none of this will do good for everyone. The right livelihood is basically having a good profession that serves others and the environment, instead of earning a living in ways that harm, violent, or disrespect other beings. Professions that trades in weapons, living beings, meat, liquor, or poisons must be avoided. The third category is mental discipline, which has the practices of right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. The right effort is not expecting things to be good automatically, but being mentally disciplined when facing bad thoughts or states to stop them from growing and nourishing good ones instead. So it will be an effort but doesn't feel like it because of the power it comes with and the intention behind it. The right mindfulness is training the mind to be aware of not only your surroundings, but also your actions, speech, and intentions to cut the bad and grow the good. When you are fully alert in full attention, you stop the ego from disturbing the present and being conscious when experiencing whatever causes suffering like craving and the 5 aggregates. So basically, it's training the mind to work for you, not against you. The right concentration or samadhi is one-pointedness of the mind. Instead of having that all over the place focus, it should be at one point unifying all the mental factors. But it has to be different from a hungry man sitting down to a meal and a warrior on the battlefield that has the one-pointedness as a meal or a target. It is exactly that concentration that is one-pointed to nothing, no object and no nothing, emptiness. It's just pure present concentration that many people experience during meditation, yoga or art for example. This is the path which Buddha took to reach nirvana. The Noble Eightfold Path is represented as a wheel to show that those 8 spokes support each other to stand strong for the wheel to keep turning. Will this path liberate you from suffering? Absolutely. Will this path awaken you to reach nirvana? Absolutely. We can literally feel how powerful it is to follow this path, as seeking the right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness and right concentration will make anyone on earth become a happy, kind, wise and supportive person that does nothing except enlightening himself and others. This is exactly the middle way which Buddha followed to reach nirvana. Extremes such as denying the self and indulging in pleasures will get you nowhere but suffering. There are 2 types of nirvana, one that you can reach in life where you end suffering and craving, and the final one that you reach the moment you die, which ends everything from consciousness to rebirth. I've said in the beginning of the video, to reach nirvana, you have to end the defilements which are greed, hatred and ignorance, because they are the cause of suffering that never ends. To track your progress in the path to nirvana, there are 4 stages of awakening to mark your stage. First, stream entry or sotapanna, where one understands the truth of reality that nothing is permanent, including the self, as it's the entry of the stream to enlightenment, which they say that one is assured to be liberated within a maximum of 7 rebirths. Second, once returner or sakadagami, where one weakened the defilements, as it said he has 1 more rebirth in the human realm before reaching full enlightenment. Third, non-returner or anagami, where one ends the defilements, as they said he will not be rebirthed into a human or suffering realm to attain full enlightenment in a higher realm. Finally, arahant, where one reached nirvana and full enlightenment to never be reborn again, as he ended suffering and the defilements to reach nirvana, the ultimate peace and wisdom. One can become an arahant within a single lifetime if he had special qualities, but the goal is not about how much it needs. The goal is nirvana, to end suffering, craving, hate and ignorance. And anyone can do that when they follow the middle way, following the Noble Eightfold Path, right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness and right concentration is following the map given by the Buddha. As I speak as Rida, to reach nirvana you have to become noble, accept suffering and rise beyond it to become noble. This is not only something that I say, it's something that all the messengers of truth want you to become. So, rise to become noble.